Welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is a handover video of an Auto Trail V-Line 610 Sport. So as I start the walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first, opening the driver's door, because this is fitted with a 25 litre underslung gas tank, to check the level of gas you've got on board, all you need to do is start the engine with the engine key, and this level gauge will light up with green dots and show you how much gas is on board at any one time. So that's where you check to see if you've got enough gas in case you need to fill it back up. 2 fridge vents. To open the cassette locker, you'd use the habitation key, which is the little round-headed key there, and then push both buttons in. And to remove the cassette, you need to lift the orange handle and slide the cassette out of the van. You can then carry it, or you can wheel it to the waste disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block on site. And to empty, it's as easy as removing the grey cap, popping the grey cap to one side for a moment, pouring the cassette, and as you pour, press the button and it will just tip out all the liquid in the cassette. Once you've emptied it, there's normally a tap, so you'd pop some water in, give it a rinse and tip out again, followed by going in with a cap full of liquid. So this is a cap which is 120 ml. So you can measure your liquid if you want, or you can just do it by eye, but it's normally about 120 ml of either the blue or the green chemical you'd put into the cassette. Once you pop it into the cassette, you can pop it straight back into the van. Just down here, you've got a breather pipe for your boiler. So this will weep and it will drip water slightly. That's a common thing on wheel boilers. It is a condensing boiler, so from time to time, if you get a small drip from there, don't worry, it's not a fault. It just happens on all of the wheel product. Fresh water drain. So if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, you're not using it for a while, so you don't want the water to go stagnant, or you're winterizing it and you're parking it up for the winter and you want to make sure all the water's out, you would open the blue one, which is your fresh water, and then the grey one is your dirty water. So this is anything that you've put down the plug hole. So dishes water, shower water, cups of tea, hand basin water where you've washed your hands, will all go into there. And normally on the way out of the site, you drive as close to the grid if you're not on a fully seasoned site, which is a service pitch. You can just drive over the grid and let the water out. Don't drive around with the added weight of dirty water, because it's just going to take up weight in your payload and mean that your engine's going to consume more fuel. Intake for the heater, so this will just an exhaust for your heating system. External shower. So the external shower, you'll get a length of hose. It's like a hose pipe fitting, so it just clips on there. This would come out. So this pushes back and this comes out. Fitting goes in there. On the other end of the hose, you get a trigger gun. As long as the pump's on, you'll get a pressurized flow for the outside shower, which is cold water only. So you'll be able to hose the bikes off, the dogs, the boots, whatever you need to do. To hook the motorhome up, you'd get your hookup lead. Lift the collar, lift the flap on the van and hook the van up first. Hook the van up first, then the sight, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you're never walking around with a live lead. And when you come to unhook, there's just a small blue clip in the left hand of the catch here that you push down, and that will release the hookup lead safely. Come around to the back of the van, you've got your high level brake light and reversing camera. With it being a sport, you get the tailgate. And you do have storage underneath. You've also got your emergency tailgate release, so should the tailgate not be releasing, you can pull that up from the inside. That's why it's got a cutaway in the back lounge. And in here you do have your table leg, your leveling ramps, your outside table base, which So you can bring your table outside should you want, underneath your awning. And that just goes back in there. And then the tailgate's quite heavy, so you've got to be quite strong with it. As you come down the passenger side of the vehicle, you've got your LPG, so this is your filler for your tank. So this is a 25 litre gas tank, and to fill you'd go to your local LPG centre. It's a bayonet fitting, get the filler, slot it on, twist the front of it and pull the trigger back. And then press and hold the dial on the display of the pump until simply it doesn't take any more. Something like this from empty will take about £25 to fill, and that'll be at full. And that's a whole 25 litres of gas. To fill the water tank, using the same key to open the loo, your habitation key, you've got a lockable cap. And if you turn, you can pop your hose pipe in there and fill it until it either overflows, until you're happy there's enough water on board, which you can see on your control panel. So I'll go through how to view your water levels on your control panel once we get inside. But what I would do is I would carry some hose and some hose fittings, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site, but always put the flat end of the hose into the van. So you don't need a connection on this end of the hose, just the flat. Electric step, light switch, external gas supply. So should you want to have a Cadec with you or external barbecue, you can connect using the tank on board instead of carrying a separate bottle. So there's a quick release connector there. So the short end goes in here. This end clips onto some gas hose, which you will need, and it just so you'll need some gas pipe and 2 Jubilee clips to connect this end onto here and the other end onto the Cadec, and then you can turn your gas tap on and that will supply once everything's connected with gas. So that will not turn unless it's connected. To fill your vehicle with diesel using the main Fate key, you're going to unlock the diesel cap and fill it with fuel, and underneath, because it's a new diesel engine, it takes AdBlue. So the litres of AdBlue it takes on a Ducato is 19 litres, and it'll do 5,500 miles on a full 19 litres. Once you've done 4 and you've got about 1,500 miles left to go, it will come up with a light and tell you it's low. Just top it up. You can buy it on the pumps now, or you can buy it in the drums. You might want to keep one in the garage and just top it up. It'll only be a job that you do once a year, depending on the mileage that you cover in the vehicle. Tyre pressures are here, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi. Underneath the seat, which is a passenger seat, you'll have a toolkit which includes a jack in the brace and a tone eye. Underneath this compartment in the floor is where your engine battery lives, so you can lift that up and that's your engine battery. It's not underneath the bonnet, it's underneath the floor and the cab. And your bonnet releases on the side of the passenger dashboard when you open the door. Under the dash, or should I say underneath the bonnet even, you do have your screen wash beside the driver's headlight, coolant and brake fluid. Lift this tab off to fill the coolant. 3 tabs, this cover lifts off from the scuttle and you can fill that. Oil filler, there's no dipstick, it's electronic, there's no power steering fluid, it's an electronic steering rack. Earth for giving or receiving a jump start. Pop your key in and lift here beside the air filter, and you do have a positive for giving or receiving a jump start, followed by your weight plate. So 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight, 6 ton train weight for the motorhome, and whatever you're towing can't exceed 6,000 kilograms. To operate your auto trail control panel, you've got your master switch here, which will turn on 12 volt from your leisure battery. Obviously, if you are hooked up, you will get mains to 40 volt household voltage in the vehicle, so you can use all 3-pin plugs. You've got the master switch for your lights, which are all then individually switched around the van. you do have your pump, which you turn on, making sure that you've got enough water, but you do need your pump on to use your taps, toilet or shower, otherwise you're not going to get any pressurised water through the lines of the vehicle, because unfortunately it does need the pump to pressurise the water. Awning light, and then you can scroll through, so you can see your Sergeant unit and its model number. Your leisure battery is charging, so that gives that you're hooked up, and we're at 13.4 volts. Take the hook about to get a true reading of your leisure battery. You can view your vehicle battery at 12.7, and it's got good there. Your fresh water and your wastewater readings. Your select battery always wants to be the leisure, because that's the battery that's used to power the motorhome. Don't let that be the vehicle battery. If it is, you can change it here by just pressing. But you always want that to be the leisure, because that's the battery that's designed to use the power for the motorhome. Don't let that be the vehicle, because it could flatten the engine battery. And you've got the inside temperature and humidity, and you can change your time when the clocks go back and forwards. And that is your auto trail control panel. So to operate your heating and hot water, which is wheel heat air controls, you've got to put your hand within proximity of the controls and it will take them out of sleep mode. So starting off with the heating of the vehicle first, using the plus and minus, you've got frost start, which is approximately 5 degrees, but then you do have to have either the gas or electric on to enable this to work, which I'll get onto in a moment. You've got nighttime mode, which is the moon, which is approximately 15 degrees, and then you can bring it all the way around to the max temperature of 30 degrees. Gas, press it, goes blue, that means the gas is on standby, and then it will go to orange and ignite once it's pulled the gas through to the heater via the gas supply of the vehicle. Once the vehicle has reached its temperature set, the gas will go back onto standby, which is blue, until it drops and the thermostat picks up that it's dropped temperature, and then it will kick back in and ignite to warm the vehicle back up. You'd use gas if you were wild camping. If you were on a site, you can use electric, so you've got 3 different power supply outputs on the gas, so depending on how much electric you've got on your site and what the amperage they're giving you is, you've got one, so just press and hold, you've got one which is 750 watts, you've got 2 which is 1500 watts, and you've got 3 which is 3000 watts. And you can see that's gone on to orange now, which means it's ignited on electric. But you can put the gas on as well, and this is what's called boost. So if you needed to boost the temperature of the vehicle, you can put both on together and it will maximize both sources, which will reduce the time it takes to heat the vehicle. Should you get a red exclamation mark down the side, you've got a reset button here. But what you can do is you can press the red exclamation mark and it will tell you on these codes here, so many bars will light up and it will give you the fault code. But press and hold the button, which will restart the control panel and eliminate the fault. To operate the hot water system, so again you've got frost start, which is 5 degrees, keeps the water in the boiler above 5 degrees, but again you do have to have gas or electric available to the vehicle. Should you not have that in the winter, we strongly advise that you winterize and get rid of all the water on board. You've got eco mode, which is heats the water to approximately 50 degrees, and then you've got full heat, which is 70 degrees down here. Gas, if you're wild camping, or you've got 750 watts of electric, 1500 watts of electric and 3 kilowatts, or 3000 watts should I say, of electric. Press the gas flame. Blue means it's on standby. Once it goes to orange, like the temperature for the heating has on gas, it is working on gas. And again, once that water gets the temperature, whatever source you've got it on, whether it be gas or electric, it'll go back onto standby until the water cools down before it kicks back in. So don't worry if you've put it on, it's gone to orange, and then 20 minutes later it's back on blue. Just means your water or your vehicle is up to temperature. And you can see there that they've both come on and they're both working. Again, both settings together is boost. So you might want to boost your hot water if you're in desperate need of hot water for a shower. And then once you've boosted it, just turn your gas off and allow the electric to continue to heat the water if you're on a site, as you wouldn't want to waste your gas when you've paid your site fees to use their electric. And that are your wheel heat air controls. Reset buttons can be found on the bottom of both dials. So in the kitchen on the V-line, you do have 3 gas burners, allow them to go cool before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you could shatter the glass if it's too warm. And underneath you've got a grill. Keep the knob pressed in until it gets warm, the thermocouple, and let go and it'll stay lit like it has. And underneath you've got your oven. Above you've got a 800 watt Russell Hobbs main microwave, so it's got mains appliance, so you've got to be hooked up for this to work. Without the hookup this will not work. It's not 12 volt, it's a mains 240 volt appliance. As long as the pump's on, which it is, you'll get hot water coming through, and that water there is getting up to temperature as I've got your hot water system on. So that is warming up nicely. Kitchen light for the under counter lights. Cutlery drawer, making sure you put the buckle back on just to keep it nice and safe and secure when you travel. Some storage in here. And then in the other one, just under the oven, at the back, you've got your 5 gas isolation valves. So you've got your barbecue, your oven and grill, your hot water system, your boiler and your fridge. Should there be any problems on gas, the best thing to do is, because this has got a tank on, just turn the valves off. You can turn the tank off itself, but you've got to get underneath the van, remove the cover off the back of the tank, and there's a stopcock, so you can turn that off. But what I would do is, if there's any problem with gas, just turn the gas tap off. So say it was the fridge that was causing a problem, you just turn the valve like so, and you've isolated the gas supply from the tank to the fridge. But these are mainly for when the vehicle is annually serviced. Every year a technician will test and drop test each appliance in the van to make sure that your gas is working as it should. And as you can see there, the hot water's working. As you can see, the steam coming off the water. So that water there is extremely hot. To operate your Dometic fridge, you've got your on-off button here. So just press and hold and you can turn it off when not in use. And when not in use, you always want to leave the door open. And on the side of the light, you do have this handy little pin. Pushes in, slides out, which means it keeps the door ajar to allow ventilation in and out the fridge to stop smell and mold from forming in the fridge. So to use it, turn it on. This one will illuminate, and that's if you are at home and you're pre-chilling and it's hooked up to mains electric, or you're on a site. So that'll work as a household fridge on 240 volt. If you're on gas and you're wild camping, you'd select gas, and you'd hear it in the background ticking, and it'll self-ignite on gas should you have enough gas on board and your gas be on. And then you do have battery, and it's failing now because the engine's not running, and that's a feed of the engine battery to keep the temperature of your fridge the same as when you departed. So it needs to be pre-chilled, or if you've gone to one site and you've been there a few days or overnight and you're ready to drive off to your next one, you can put on a battery, and as soon as you fire the engine up, it'll get a feed from the engine alternator, and it'll act as a giant cool box until you arrive back on site and either go back onto electric or you go onto gas if you're wild camping. Temperature here, so when pre-chilling, always has started on full temperature. Get the fridge down to temperature, and then when you put your shopping in, you may just want to turn it down to 4 or 3 just so it doesn't freeze the contents of the fridge. Remember to clean it out once in a while and leave the door open when you're not using it to avoid smells from forming within the fridge, which will then make your motorhome smell. So electric, gas, 12 volt when you're travelling to keep the shopping at a steady temperature like a cool box, but it's got to be down to temperature first, and the engine has got to be on. In the bottom of the kitchen cupboard, there's a fuse spur here, and that's for the electric side to your boiler. So make sure that that's always switched on. If you are having any problems with trying to get the electric side to illuminate and it's not illuminating, just make sure this is switched on. Otherwise, that could be the cause of problem. You could have knocked it when getting things in and out of your cupboard. Directly underneath your oven is the location of your boiler drain. So your boiler drain is this yellow toggle here, which is currently pointing towards the cab. When you've finished using it in the winter and you've drained off your fresh, your waste, you've left all your taps open within the van, what you're wanting to do is you want to drain off the boiler, because the boiler holds 10 litres of water at a time, and when not in use it's very important that you drain it down, because if not, the water could freeze and it isn't covered under manufacturer's warranty for frost damage, as it's your responsibility to drain the vehicle down. So what you need to do is you need to point it towards the driver's side of the vehicle to the washroom door, and it will drain off all 10 litres of water directly out underneath your boiler. Open that up, open your taps, and then put the control panel on. Put the pump on for about 5 to 10 seconds. It'll just squirt any water out that's still in there, and then turn it off. Don't leave it on any longer than that, otherwise it could damage the pump with no water being in. But it does just blow the water that's in the pump out, so it makes sure that the pump is safely winterized as well. When you come to reuse it, back towards the cab in that position there, shut the taps, shut the fresh and the waste, fill the vehicle with water, cold water from outside, which will be over here, comes in here into the tank, pump on, cold side open on the tap, slowly go around the hot. You'll get a lot of air compressed out the tap until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. This is when you know that your boiler has reached maximum capacity of 10 litres in the boiler. At the back you do have your gas taps, so any problems with gas you can turn off each gas appliance there, or if you wanted to completely shut off the gas you can turn all of them off so that no gas is physically coming from the tank into the motorhome. But there is a main stopcock on the gas tank at the back underneath the vehicle. In the back lounge, as this vehicle is fitted with a media pack, it comes with the Avtex TV, which is smart, so you can turn it on. Once it's on, you do need to retune it. So you need to retune it through Freeview, which is there's a standard aerial on the roof, which is a fixed aerial. So you've got a boost down one of the cupboards where you can amplify the signal should you wish. But to retune, you just need to go to settings, which is at the top here. So settings on the remote, down to the 3 dots at the bottom, all settings, and press enter. And then what you want to do is you want to go to programs, program tuning and settings, click enter, and you want to do an auto search on antenna, because you haven't got a satellite and you haven't got a cable. But if you did want to fit a satellite in the future, this TV is got an inbuilt satellite receiver, so you would just be able to fit it. This will go really quick until it hits about 50-60%, and it'll start to pull in the channels. So don't panic thinking, oh, it's not working. It will slow down and start to find the channels. So there it's starting to slow down, and there you go, it's starting to pick up the channels. Once it's done an auto search, we'll come back to you and show you how you would make your telly smart. So now the telly's tuned, to tune the telly into the Wi-Fi, so to make the connection with the Wi-Fi, again, settings, down to all settings, down to connection, network connection settings, and you want a Wi-Fi connection, because you're not wired through an Ethernet, because you haven't got an Ethernet cable in there unless you want to put one in, but you'd have to put one in from the Wi-Fi box to there, and you'd be trailing the wire. So you want a Wi-Fi connection, and you want to search. So there it's picked our, so it's picked up Time Valley Motorhomes guest. So if I was to put the password in,
targeting that side again.
so you get the gist. You put the password in, and then once you get the password in, it would connect, and you'd be able to use Netflix and Amazon Prime. So in the cupboard above the TV, you've got your TV booster, so make sure it's on. And this is the amplifier. You can min and max the signal. It is a fixed aerial on the roof, so should it be too strong, try turning it down. Should it be still pixelating, try turning it up. You can adjust the signal by just turning this wheel and turning this on, but normally I would just leave this on. It'll go off with the main 12-volt system. Yeah. So underneath this bench seat here, you've got the location of your pump. When winterizing, what I would do is, once you have drained the fresh and the waste off, and you've opened the boiler, and you've opened all the taps, put the pump on and blow the pump out for 10 seconds, and then turn off the 12-volt system and turn off the pump, because you'll damage the pump if you continue to run it through with no water. You just want to get the water that's in there out. And then what I would do is get a tea towel handy or a cloth, just remove this cap. So this is a filter. So you want to take that off, and you want to take this out, because water sits in here in the pump. Take it off when you winterize it, and then when you're ready to reuse it, before you even think about putting water in, just pop the filter back in and the filter cover, because if you don't, sometimes these plastic covers can split and then you'd need to replace it before you go away, which is not what you want. You just want to be able to put it back together and use it. So once you've got it back together, you'd fill the vehicle with water, close all the taps inside, turn the pump on the 12-volt control panel, turn the taps on one tap first. Always start with the kitchen tap, cold. You'll get an automatic pressurized of cold water, go to hot, it'll cough, splutter and make all sorts of noises because it's filling the boiler. But you'll have to shut the toggle before you start doing this, otherwise the water will drain directly out underneath the van. But that's how you would do it. Just wait for the pressurized flow to come through the taps. Once you've done one tap, you would do them all, and that your system is primed. Here at the back, you've also got 2 bars. These bars are used to make the bed up. So what you need to do is you've got a groove. So you'd pop one end in here and pop the other end there. Do the same at the back. And then it allows you to extend your beds on both sides. And it bears the weight pull these forward, drop your backrests in at the back or the front. It's entirely up to you, but I would turn everything upside down if I was you, just so you get a flatter surface to sleep on. And there you've got your double bed made. You can remove those as well if you want to sleep this way, but you do sleep across the van and you've got a large double bed made like that. So underneath the long bench seat at the back on the driver's side, like I was saying from outside, this is the location of your leisure battery. And you've got a 20 amp fuse here, so that's your main 12 volt battery fuse. But you've also got your EC176 power supply unit from Sargent, which has all your 12 volt fuses in, which are all marked on what amperage and what fuse does which. This side you do have your main trip tester, so if you're struggling and thinking the vehicle wasn't receiving power, if you try and trip her out, if she trips, she's receiving power. If she doesn't trip, the motorhome isn't getting any power through the hookup lead. So it could be the site or where you've got the vehicle plugged into. This needs to be pushed in and illuminated for the heater to work on electric, and that is your charger charging your leisure battery on mains. Leave them as they are. If you have got any problems, this would be the first place I would try, just to see if these have been pushed out, but they should illuminate when hooked up. 12 volt system shutdown button, so this will shut all 12 volt off, including the head unit and reversing camera in the winter. So if you're taking her out for a spin in the winter, which we advise you to do, and you're wondering why the reversing camera and the head unit isn't working, if you've turned this off to stop a 12 volt drain, that needs to be turned on for the head unit to work. The other fuse here and a module, just your crossover from your cab, I think. And to make the bed up, so you've got 2 bars which go in here, and the bars sit at the back. So not on this one, on the other side, the bars will be underneath the seat. So if you lift it up, you'll see the bars there. They go in here, these slide out, and then the backrests, which are these, go in the middle here. Or you can pull the base cushions forward and put the backrests at the back. It's entirely up to you. But what I would do is turn the seats upside down, because you get a flatter surface to sleep on, sleeping on the backs of the cushions instead of sleeping on the fronts, which is where you've got your bull nose and your tapered edge. But that's how you'd make the back bed up. Pole for the table is in the wardrobe, which you can put the table at the back there, with the tabletop in here. In the cupboards just behind the washroom, you do have your solar charge selector, so you can select it to go to the vehicle battery when the van is standing, or when in use you can have it to the leisure battery. Note that the leisure battery, when hooked up, gets priority from mains and the solar panel will go to sleep. But you can distribute the charge to which battery you want through here. And on this side you do have your fixed TV aerial. You've got a booster here so you can amplify the signal. Should it be too strong or too weak, you can turn it down, and you can turn the booster on and off just here. That will work your TV. So you've got an Avtex television as part of the pack on the vehicle, which is a media pack. But you will have to retune the telly every time you move locations, which is very simple. Press this button here, scroll all the way down to the 3 dots, all settings, and you want to go to programs, tunings and settings, and you want to do an auto tune on antenna, and it'll search and it'll find as many channels as it can. It'll go up quite quick until it gets to halfway, and that's when it starts to pull in the channels. But that's how you would retune your telly every time you'd move locations. So it's 12 volt your telly, so it'll work when hooked up and when on a site. So when hooked up and not hooked up, should I say, through 12 volt, as long as you've got enough charge in your leisure battery. Your little lights are individual readers, so they're individually switched, and you've got 4 of them in the back lounge here. And as you can see, it's slowed down and stopped, so it's going to start to tune in now on around 40%. In your washroom, which is a wet room, you do have your toilet. So starting off with the toilet, you can spin the toilet round. Press the blue button, making sure that the pump's on, and you'll get a fresh water flush. Flush your toilet and put a small amount of toilet water from the flush in the bowl. And then open the blade before you use it, which is this grey lever here. Slide it to the left. That just helps lubricate the seal between the toilet and the top of the cassette. You can now use the toilet. Give it a good flush after use, and close the blade to the right. If you want to leave the blade open and try and get the cassette out when it indicates it's full, which you'll get 3 green lights underneath the diagram of the cassette here, it will not come out because the mechanism is engaged. If you're cleaning the bowl and you've bought the twin pack of the pink and the blue, just put some pink in a bottle, dilute it, spray it. It'll do the same thing. It'll get a nice fragrant smell and it will keep this bowl clean. Do not use any harsh bleaches on any of the plastic in the washroom, including the shower tray. Light wipes, soap, anything, microfiber cloths, nothing harsh, because you'll take the shine off the toilet, the shower tray and the sink. You've got to use light chemicals to avoid this from becoming discoloured. When winterising as well, make sure you unscrew your shower head from the hose and lie the hose in the shower tray with the mixer tap open. There's your shower curtain, which will come round and press it on to stop the toilet from getting wet. Got a toilet roll holder, towel rail holder and a hanger. And if you push these in, you've got some toiletry sprays, a complimentary bottle of blue for the cassette. You'll get 1 cap out of that, and you've got your sink. So when you've used this, always tip it up slowly and fold the tap away, as it's got to go into the channel, and if you put too much water in, you can flood the vehicle. And ensure the sink is open, so down like so when travelling, just to avoid it from springing open and giving you a fright when you're driving.